on the car after Dave Gehagen, which is your stepson now. When it comes down to son-in-law, stepson, I'll get that right. And they pull the windshield out that's breaking with their hands.
Yeah.
And it was about coming together and winning, and at all costs. And they put themselves second and put that car back together, and off we went. And great times.
And a lot of people don't realize today you would not be doing this, but we built our own cars after a while. We would get a chassis in white from Motorsport, and literally Tom and his guys would develop new tricks, new ways of stiffening the car, new traction with rear ends. We did a lot of work in the rear ends, all kinds of development that we did here. Today that is not done at all.
We also built our own engines, and part of this relationship with BMW, of course, started that we worked very closely with Motorsports in Germany. And I made some good friends there, including Paul Rusher, who always liked me, and he smoked at least 3 packs of cigarettes in about 15 minutes. And his glasses were down like this, and he said, "How are you doing this, Mr. Milner?" But it really was great, and the company, especially the M company, they were behind us. They really liked America. They liked us. They liked the team, and Erik was flailing around and his hair flying everywhere, and so it was a very memorable, for me, probably the most important thing of the career of my company was the relationship with BMW.
Well, and then you went on to the E46. You developed a whole nother platform. I mean, that was again one of the last of the real production car M3s you guys raced. There was one later on, but I mean, again, you building and developing your own cars.
Well, at one time I tried to convince BMW that we should have a V8 motor in the car because our 6-cylinder car was really, we didn't have enough power. They didn't like that very much. What I didn't know at the time, found out later, that there were actually 4 or 5 M3s with 5-liter V8s, or some of them were 4.5-liter. They actually had them there. I found out about that. I got the ACO to come to Munich and said, we switched motors and same internet and everything, trying to do something about it. BMW wouldn't do it, so we built 2 cars for a customer, a guy named Jim Bell from Florida. And Boris, Hans Stuck, I think Bill, whoever.
Not me, because I got passed by that thing like a guided missile. I was obviously.
So we actually led overall because of the rain. And then we broke a top ring of a piston. We had to make our own pistons and broke something, and it pressurized the crankcase, so it started leaking out oil. And I said, put heavy oil in it. Let's put in 100 weight. Let's keep this thing going. But in the end, we basically had to stop. So we actually ran in competition, led at the 24-hour race with an E46 M3 with a V8 motor in it. That was the year 2000.
And this team spanned some tremendous upheaval in the world of sports car racing in the United States. When I look down at the list of championships that they won, the IMSA GT Championship, Sports Car GTS, Sports Car GT3, U.S. Road Racing Championship GT3, American Le Mans GT, Rolex Sports Car GT. It really brings you right into the modern era in very difficult situations where rules were changing almost by the month. And these guys were fielding competitive cars and out there winning day in, day out.
One thing about Bill Auberlen, who's basically exactly a year older than, to the day, my daughter. Bill is the only driver that I know of that finished first in the same race in 2 different cars. You ask, how can that possibly be? I think we ran either 3 or 4 cars, and one of them was in GT3 and one of them was in GT2, and the difference was not very much. It's just the restrictor and weight and so on. So we said, we're going to run this GT2 car because I think we can win that class too. So Bill started out in the GT3 car, and in those days you could drive however many times you want. Like Boris, he used to drive 5 cars in the same 24-hour race because they all dropped out.
It was only 4.
Oh, 4? Close.
18 hours.
So, and that's how we did that.
That's illegal today, by the way.
Immediately they changed the rules, but that was I don't think anybody's ever done that before.
Boris, give us a sense of what PTG, your experience with the team, did with your career.
I mean, it's amazing. I look back and I started racing late in life. I went to the Detroit Grand Prix in 1985, and before that, I wouldn't even watch racing on TV. That's stupid. I just turned to another channel. And as soon as I saw the first car go by, and I'll never forget, it was Ayrton Senna in this black Lotus. I'm like, I got to do that. I was instantly addicted. And literally 2 weeks later, I went to the Skip Barber Racing School. Never been in a go-kart in my life. I was a complete idiot in the school looking back now. I had no clue what I was doing, but I was excited. I was like, I told the teacher after, I go, hey, man, I want to be a professional race car driver. What do I do next? And he looked at me and he goes, OSB. And I'm like, is that like a tape, a book? What is that? He goes, other sports, Beckon. He goes, trust me, you don't have the talent. Forget about it. Keep your day job.
Your feet are too big.
You're a mess. You're too poor. You're too old. And Mike Samicki was his name. I don't want to say that, but he's still doing the same thing today. but it really got me thinking. And so I went to work for the Skip Barber Racing School, and my first paying gig ever, Eric probably doesn't remember this, but
I do remember it.
You hired me to do a poster for the One Lap of America in an M5. I think he paid me $500, and I thought I hit the lottery.
That much?
Yeah.
My God, Eric, are you
It's
crazy?
just to slide around an M5 on a skid pad for an hour, and that was a blast. I would have done it for free.
It was a great poster.
And and then my racing career started, and now I look back at 30 years, and thinking that it's BMW's 100-year anniversary, and now that I'm a dealer, I've been open 5 years, 2 months, and 17 days. Who's counting? But
No pressure.
I was lucky enough to get invited to the 100-year anniversary party in Munich this year. I think it was in January. And it was pretty amazing to see that a company has been selling these cars for 100 years. And then today it really hit me again, this company has so much passion, like I do. I love the brand. I love driving. I love cars like everybody here. We wouldn't be here. And to see Ludwig Village this weekend, the president of BMW out there driving on the track in one of his old race cars, there isn't another car executive in the country that does that. And I think that just speaks what BMW is all about. Everybody in the company has that passion for the brand, and that's why we have these cars that are the ultimate driving machines. And, I was proud. That was a big part of my career, racing BMWs. I've raced a lot of other things in my life, almost every company, every kind of NASCAR, everything. And, Tom used to always make fun of me, and Boris, you're like a driving whore. You'll drive anything. You don't care. And I'm like, no, I'm more of a prostitute because I get paid for it. But now that my career is kind of winding down and I'm a car dealer and I get to sell the brand, and I'm also actually a Volkswagen dealer, I'm a little embarrassed to say. But they're great cars, but I don't have that passion for the brand, and the people there don't have the passion for the brand. So BMW is a very unique brand, and it really hit me this weekend when you see Ludwig out there, and I don't even know how 62 years old, driving around in a car on a racetrack is pretty cool. So it's just a fantastic brand, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And going from a driver for all these years, and now I still get to come race a little bit and still haven't quit yet, but sell these cars. I mean, if anyone wants a car, BMWMurrieta.com, you can come down and see me. That's a cheap shot, but I'm a car dealer now.
All right, moving on. Bill, let's get Bill in here. How about reflections on your career from the PTG era? I have one for you, but you go ahead.
I mean, one of the best times ever was when that GTR came out.
Yes.
All right, the V8 GTR, here it comes, and this thing was the most potent, awesome machine ever. The competition had no idea what we had under the hood of this thing, and we were holding back. We could have beat that Corvette in GT1 if we wanted to, right? It was by 4 seconds faster than the Porsches. The problem was they brought Schnitzer from Germany with 2 cars, and they put them up against Tom Milner, which is a really bad idea because this whole thing got...
Nobody wanted to lose.
Nobody wanted to lose. And it became a crazy throwdown match, and Tom was developing the car, and every time he developed it, Germany tried to turn his cars back, and this became a great time, and that led to a really great event when we went Stars and Stripes on the car.
Yes.
Went to
the car Boris is driving this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
It had an auspicious start, though, because I was the first person to drive that car when Tom got it, and I think it was in January. It was really cold in Summit Point, West Virginia. It was freezing. Was it 30?
We didn't. The first 2 races we actually didn't have the cars. Remember, we even We even loaned one of our cars to Motorsports for Sebring.
What was the car I blew up at West Virginia?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
You did that. That wasn't the car, that was you.
I get to drive this car.
about?
It's freezing cold out in the morning, and they go, okay, do one slow lap and then let her loose. So I did the slow lap, and it's early in the morning. I remember it was cold. I'll tell you why in a minute. And they're all on the wall, and second lap I go by, and the sound of this car, if you've heard it today, is just amazing. And just about when I shifted into sixth gear, it went and just blew up. Just destroyed the motor. And I just shut it off, and they go, you all right? And I go, yep, motor's blew up. And they heard it right when it happened. And I coasted way down the straightaway and just pulled off in this little runoff road. And I'm just sitting there in the car and unbuckled the radio and everything. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's a lot of smoke coming out of the hood. So I unbuckle, get out, undo the hood pins, bring it up, and there's a fire. And I'm like, holy crap. If this thing burns to the ground, they're going to kill me. And I'm sitting there, what do? And I'm on the ground trying to pull my driving suit off. And I didn't have any long underwear on, just my little underwear. I get the suit off, and I start stuffing it in the engine compartment to put the little fire out and get it out. And about the time I get it out, here comes these BMW station wagons with the Germans in it and Tom, and they're looking at me with this look I'll never forget, like, why is he in his underwear and his shoes? Like, what the hell happened? And that was actually the start of that thing. It didn't start very well.
I said to you, next time you drive this car, put on some clean underwear.
Thank God it didn't burn to the ground.
It was close. It was close.
Out of all the race cars, everybody always asks me for some reason, because I've driven so many different kinds of cars, what's your favorite car? What's your favorite track? And by far, it's this GTR. I mean, driving this GTR around a track like Nürburgring is the most fun you'd ever have doing anything. It's just amazing. The sound, the shifting. Today driving that car after 15 years, the cars we drive now have all these electronic aids. They have paddle shift and ABS and traction control. And to get in this car with a gated shifter, a 6-speed Hewland, I mean, you're just, at Nürburgring, it was 110 gear shifts a lap. And the sound of the motor when you're doing it is just unbelievable. And it's just by far one of the all-time best sports cars ever made that PTG built.
We need to wind this down now, but one story I do want to tell you, because Gary Auberlen is in the Bill's dad is in the audience tonight. Gary came to every single race that we ran, and he became our team photographer because he was hanging around all the time. He actually turned out to be a very good photographer, and we enjoyed working with him. But I will never forget that it was racing in New Orleans around the Superdome, and we meet Bill for the first time. They are there running a Mazda RX-7.
A Maxwell coffee can with marbles in it.
That was better than the first time you met me.
Well, hang on, I'm not done. We have John Paul Jr. and Pete Halsmer, real heavyweights, sitting up on the jack stands with the pole time in hand with 5 minutes to go in qualifying. And Bill goes ripping out in the Mazda, and the announcer gets all excited, and he says, "New pole! Bill Auberlen in the Mazda." And I look at Milner and I'm like, who is that kid? And then we go out, we take it again. Bill goes out, takes it again, comes into the first turn, crashes brutally. And I see this thing like a bent beer can sticking up over the Jersey barrier with the front wheels about 10 feet high. And I think, okay, that's the end of that. He's done. Bill sprints back up towards us into the pit lane, and another competitor who was an owner of IMSA at the time, Charlie Slater, says, "Bill, jump in my 911. Had you ever been in that car before?
I never drove that. That was Alex Job's car, that Charlie Slater. I'd never driven that car.
Bill jumps in the car with about 60 seconds left to go in qualifying and puts the damn thing on the pole. And I turned to Tom and I said, "I don't know who this kid is, but we got to go find him and sign him for our team." And as they say,
The rest is history.
That was a good day. I actually won that race in that Porsche, by the way.
we weren't going to include that part. Anyway,
It's always hard when you race BMWs and you get beat by a Volkswagen. I mean, think about it. It's terrible.
I want to recognize two people that are in the audience here tonight. Jen and Steve Dinan, good friends of ours and good friend of the foundation, are here tonight. And also in the back of the room, old BMW competitor and good friend Ray Corman is also with us tonight. Give him a round of applause. We have a lot of other things to do with you guys tonight. We're going to have some fun auction items. The guys are going to help us out, so we really want to raise some money. Give them a round of applause, and you can ask any question you want later on in the evening. Thank you.
The last thing, one last thing. I just want to say thank you to everybody here. I mean, every time I race here in Monterey, I go by the tent. I see everybody always waving. I try to wave back and do big burnouts for you, even though the diff falls out one time and we're there. But thank you guys very much for all your support. I really appreciate it.
Here, here.